In 2006, Quiznos had over 5,000 locations, but today it's barely a few hundred. That's like going from rock star status to playing at your cousin's backyard barbecue. So what happened? Because before Subway was stuffing footlongs with questionable tuna, Quiznos was the go-to spot for toasty, melty, flavor-packed subs. They practically invented the whole "let's warm this thing up" sandwich revolution. But who actually started this empire, and where are they now? Buckle up, grab a snack, preferably a sandwich for nostalgia, and let's dive into the rise, fall, and maybe redemption of Quiznos. But before we get all foodie, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more interesting content. Back in 1981, a man named Jimmy Lambatos had a vision that was not a vague, half-baked idea like, maybe I should open a restaurant, but a full-blown mission. This man wanted the kind of sandwich experience that made people stop mid-bite and go, wait, why is this so good? And thus, in the heart of Denver, Colorado, Quiznos was born. Now, Jimmy wasn't just some random guy with a bread obsession. He had a background in fine dining, which meant he wasn't about to play it safe with basic deli meats and limp lettuce. He was out here elevating sandwiches like they were plated entrees in a five-star restaurant. He wanted high-quality meats, delicious sauces, artisan-style bread, and most importantly, a toaster that made everything taste like a little piece of heaven. And people loved it. Think about it. In the early 80s, fast food was mostly a cold, lifeless world. But then along came Quiznos with their hot, crispy, flavor-packed subs, and suddenly, people felt like they'd been living in darkness until this cheesy, melty beacon of light came along. The oven toasting process wasn't just for show. It did something magical to the bread, creating that perfect crunch on the outside while keeping the inside warm and soft. The cheese was melted to perfection, and the flavors were blended in a way that made Subway's cold cuts taste like a wet napkin in comparison. Word spread fast, and soon, Quiznos was a Denver sensation. But Jimmy wasn't exactly dreaming of empire building. He was a chef, not a businessman, and in 1987, he decided it was time to step away from the sandwich game. Then came Rick Schaden, a man who took one look at Quiznos and thought, oh, this isn't just a sandwich shop, this is a gold mine. He took over the company with a vision of turning toasted subs into a nationwide phenomenon and started expanding like Quiznos was the second coming of sliced bread itself. And for a while, it worked. By the late 90s and early 2000s, Quiznos was absolutely dominating. By 2006, Quiznos had a jaw-dropping 5,000-plus locations worldwide. It was more than just a success story. That's a fast food world tour. And for a moment, it genuinely looked like Subway was in trouble. Because, let's be honest, Subway in the early 2000s was mid at best. Their sandwiches were cold, lifeless, and vaguely wet. Meanwhile, Quiznos was out here serving up actual flavor. It was like comparing a Michelin star dish to a gas station tuna melt. And Quiznos won the marketing game too. Let's talk about the Spongmonkeys. If you were alive in 2004 and had a functioning television, you definitely remember the absolute fever dream of a commercial Quiznos dropped. Those terrifying, bug-eyed, rodent-looking creatures were not a mistake. Quiznos intentionally unleashed chaotic energy on the world with their "We Love the Subs" campaign. It was bizarre and unsettling, like watching a rejected Pixar character on a caffeine overdose scream about sandwiches. But that's what made it interesting and catchy. People couldn't stop talking about Quiznos. The commercials were so weird, so unhinged, that they were viral before going viral was even a thing. But let's not forget the actual selling point, the food. Quiznos was objectively better than Subway. The quality was higher, the flavors were richer, and they had one secret weapon that should have kept them on top forever: the Baja Chicken sandwich. If you know, you know. That spicy, creamy, slightly sweet, absurdly delicious masterpiece was enough to make people forsake all other sandwich chains. It had grilled chicken, smoky bacon, chipotle mayo, and melted cheese, all wrapped up in that legendary toasted bread. So at this point, everything was going great. Quiznos was winning, the Subway was shaking, the toasty revolution was in full swing. So what could possibly go wrong? Oh, you already know. But before we continue, hit that like and subscribe button. Have you ever seen someone absolutely crushing it only to somehow trip over their own feet and faceplant at the finish line? That's Quiznos' downfall in a nutshell. They weren't taken down by an evil corporate rival or a scandalous sandwich conspiracy. No, they did this to themselves. At their peak, Quiznos was making serious money, but instead of taking a victory lap, they decided, what if we made all our franchise owners completely miserable? And that's exactly what they did. Unlike Subway, which lets franchise owners buy their ingredients from different suppliers, Quiznos forced all their stores to buy ingredients directly from corporate, and they jacked up the prices. So while Subway franchisees could cut costs and keep things running smoothly, Quiznos owners were getting financially destroyed by insane ingredient markups. The cost of doing business with Quiznos was so high that some franchise owners were selling sandwiches at a loss. Imagine making 200 sandwiches a day and still not making enough to pay rent. That was Quiznos' nightmare. And just when you think it couldn't get worse, oh, it absolutely did. Instead of slowing down and fixing their broken business model, Quiznos decided, let's just keep selling more franchises. More locations, more owners, more financially ruined dreams. The result was oversaturation. Suddenly, there were so many Quiznos locations that they were competing against each other. You'd have a Quiznos on one street corner and another one across the street, and another one inside a mall, and another one inside the gas station down the block. It was too much. And as franchise owners went bankrupt and sued the company, Quiznos' reputation went down the drain faster than an expired batch of guacamole. By 2014, the company filed for bankruptcy. From 5,000 stores to just a few hundred, Quiznos went from fast food royalty to a cautionary tale in the blink of an eye. And just like that, the toasty empire had crumbled. Alright, let's check in on the two masterminds behind the rise and catastrophic fall of Quiznos. First up, Jimmy Lambatos, the man, the myth, the sandwich legend. This guy started Quiznos with the dream of toasting his way into America's heart, and for a while he did. But here's the kicker, he didn't even stick around long enough to see his creation go global. He cashed out in 1987 like a dude who hits the jackpot in Vegas and immediately walks away from the table. Smart move. So what did he do after handing over the keys to his soon-to-be sandwich empire? Did he sit around mourning the fact that Quiznos went from top-tier subs to a financial sinkhole? Nope, Jimmy went back to doing what he loved, being a chef. Instead of dealing with corporate nonsense and franchise meltdowns, Jimmy built the Chef Jimmy experience, a private dining and cooking class venture where he gets to cook gourmet food for people who actually appreciate it. That's right, while Quiznos was busy setting itself on fire, Jimmy was probably sipping wine, flipping steaks, and being totally unbothered. Now onto Rick Schaden, the guy who took Quiznos to the top and then drove it straight into a financial ditch. Rich took over in the late 80s, saw dollar signs, and turned Quiznos into a franchise-fueled monster. Under his leadership, Quiznos peaked at over 5,000 locations, became a household name, and had some of the weirdest commercials in fast food history. But then, it all collapsed faster than a badly made souffle. So what happened to Rick after all that? Did he sit around regretting his choices? Did he perhaps open a therapy support group for franchisees who lost their life savings? Absolutely not. Because, and this might shock you, Rick Schaden is still insanely rich. Turns out running a company into the ground doesn't actually make you broke if you play your cards right. After Quiznos went up in flames, Rick took his fast food empire building talents elsewhere. He moved on to other ventures, including Smash Burger and MOD Pizza, because clearly he has a thing for fast casual food chains with big expansion dreams. The man is out here living his best life, still knee-deep in the restaurant industry, probably laughing his way to the bank while former Quiznos franchise owners weep softly into their overpriced loaves of bread. So, is Quiznos completely dead? Surprisingly, no. It's not exactly thriving, but it's also not buried next to Blockbuster and Radio Shack in the graveyard of failed businesses. Somehow, against all odds, Quiznos is still kicking. After filing for bankruptcy in 2014, they started rebuilding with a new business model. Instead of rapid expansion and financial nightmares, they're going for smaller, more efficient locations. Because, shocker, not oversaturating the market actually helps businesses survive. Quiznos is no longer the toasted sub-king of fast food. At this point, it's more like a random relic you stumble upon in an airport food court and think, wait, they still exist? So, will Quiznos ever reclaim its former glory? Honestly, it's doubtful. But hey, if Taco Bell can bring back Mexican pizza, anything is possible. At the end of the day, Quiznos is a classic example of what happens when you take something amazing and mismanage it into oblivion. It had the superior sandwiches, the superior marketing, and for a while, the superior business strategy. But then greed, bad leadership, and too many franchise locations turned it into one of the biggest fast food flops in history. So if you ever stumble across Quiznos, maybe give it a shot, for nostalgia's sake. Who knows, maybe that Baja Chicken still slaps. What do you think about that? Let us know in the comments below. And hey, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more fun. Thanks for watching.